For those who took my Jewish history class or my introduction to Judaism, I always like to say that throughout each generation of Jewish life, we always had affection for the outside world. And for 2,000 years, we picked customs that we liked and we brought it on to our own ethos, our own identity. A couple of Shabbatons ago, I talked about how the rabbis, when back in Babylonia, they really liked the idea of day of judgment. And they took these ideas from the Babylonians, they found a way to incorporate them in our high holiday liturgy. Some of you know the modes of the high holidays. May us be inscribed in the book of life. I know some of you like the prayer when the gates are closing. All these theological understandings of trying to be a good person and how we will be judged. And Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, it's a day we stand in trial. But again, it's somewhat complicated because the rabbis have to wrestle with theology or theodicy. Why do things happen to people? So again and again, they try to wrestle with this. And for 2,000 years, you have a more opening understanding of how God may appear. So in the first century, when the second temple was destroyed, the rabbis had to rationalize it theologically. Even though by history, by fact, we know the temple was destroyed because the Jews rose against the Romans regarding increase of taxing, mixing and matching populations, laying off a myriad of workers at the temple, which led to revolt. Some rabbis teach us that it was our attitude towards fellow Jews who caused the destruction. But if you think like a rabbi, the answer was, God is too powerful to let this happen. Therefore, we sinned, and that's why it happened. But that's theology 2,000 years ago. Maybe it's theology 1,000 years ago. And then you start seeing the development of what I like to call the diversities of Jewish theologies. Not to confuse you anymore, but it's the gift that maybe God doesn't operate as our liturgy described. So when we get to Yom Kippur, B'miuchad, especially Kol Nidrei, there we are in God's chamber. God has pardoned us and God has forgiven us. But on Kol Nidrei, and the next morning and in the afternoon, the evening, we'll be doing our vidui, our confessions of the things that we've done. So we're hoping right at this moment when the gates are closing, this Ne'ilah service, that we made it into the book of life. There's some problems with that. We know difficult things happen on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur to the most extraordinary people in the world. Wonderful people. So again, intellectually, rationally, we reject the idea that something bad had to happen during Rosh Hashanah. We imagine God literally taking notes about who is good and who is bad. We reject that. Well, I do. I wouldn't be in this business. But there's precedent, and this is what I want to teach you guys. For the Reform perspective, we have emphasized Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, followed by Sukkot and Simchas Torah. Then we get into Cheshvan, Mar Cheshvan. There's no holidays. It's my favorite month. But Sukkot is more than this empathic holiday that we remember what it's like to be wandering in the wilderness. There's something called Hoshana Rabbah, which literally means the great Hoshana. In the book of Psalms, beseech us now, Adonai. But here's where the rabbis get it right. I'm pretty confident this did not happen in our 145-year history. But on the seventh day of Sukkot, even though there's 8 outside of Israel, remember we talked about that last week, not to confuse you anymore. During the seventh day of Sukkot, we do Hoshana Rabbah, we take the lulav, and we bang it against the pews. Everything goes everywhere. But why would we process around 7 times the Torah and we're banging our lulav against the pews of the synagogue? Now, I don't know if they had pews 1,800 years ago in synagogues. But the symbolism is that even after the gates are closed, these represent our sins. So God really doesn't like the idea of the gates are closing. God gives us additional time to make sure that we have a chance to get back on the right path of teshuvah. Again, even when we say Havdalah, when Yom Kippur comes to an end, even if we haven't had that courage to apologize, to introspect, we still have a second chance and a third chance. We know about this again in the Bible when God decrees a second Passover for those people who were ritually impure to partake in the festival offering. So Yom Kippur theoretically doesn't end. When Yom Kippur ends, we still go to bed at night and the next night thinking about what we did well and how we can work on our imperfections. This is what Maimonides calls having Yom Kippur every day in our hearts, having that critical examination, again, what we did well and our humanities. So as much as we may be getting into the theological spirit on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, we listen to the bombastic pieces, the Kedusha, the Shema, powerful liturgy in which we confess our sins. But through the advancement of the Jewish intelligentsia, it's our writing, it's our thinking that made the Jewish people survive. That we want to believe in a God who gives us a first chance, a second chance, a third chance, a fourth chance, a fifth chance. Because we have every opportunity to seize the mitzvot, to make someone's experience better. So my final message on the series of the high holidays is that it's never too late to pivot. It's never too late to fix something. It's never too late to make amends. It makes us stronger. It makes us humble. It makes us happier. I, for one, need to do it. We all need to do it. And that's why I love the themes of the high holidays. The ability to start anew. Rosh Hashanah, we can also call it the season of change. We rise together, Elenu 586.